We're back for the Big 8 1991 Outdoor Track and Field Championships from the University of Nebraska. Duke Fry, Cree Kelly, along with Drew Goodman on Prime Network. And we're all set for the women's 1,500-meter run. And the favorite in this event, Fran Ten Bensel, who pulled the upset in the 3,000 meters.
Well, Fran Ten Bensel will be challenged by Lisa Graham. They both come in with times 4:16, 4:19, and there's one other right there next to her from Iowa State is Karen Glarum. She comes in with a time of 4:18. There is no easy choice here, but Fran Ten Bensel certainly, after that 3,000 meter surprise, this has got to be double duty for her.
Ten Bensel is on the inside. Edith Najienji is on the outside, and she moves quickly to the front.
Boy, she just scooted right across the front.
But once she got into that front position, she slowed down the pace immediately and got it into the tempo that she'd like to see, I guess.
Now, the Ed Weir track record is certainly in jeopardy. That it also happens to be just about the national qualifying standard of 4:18. But 4:18.11 is the time that they're going after. Of course, the Edith Najienji has run 4:13.59, but it'll be difficult to say how she's going to do against this particular competition.
Here are the records. The collegiate mark of 4:05.88, Big 8 record 4:13.59, and there you see the track record and NCAA qualifying standard as well.
What Edith Najienji has done is just she's simply settling down right into her favorite place, which is right behind the leaders and just off their shoulders. And right now it's too early to concern herself with being boxed. She's pretty happy to be probably right where she is right now. Karen Glarum is right there in the front, so you know it's nice when you're running with your teammate. That makes it a little bit easier. It's a little bit too early to concern yourself with some of the other athletes, but certainly University of Nebraska Fran Ten Bensel is a woman to watch out there.
Lisa Graham from Nebraska is up front right now, and Ten Bensel has dropped back just a little bit. Right now you see her moving up on the outside.
Yeah, she just wants to come up on the outside very close, and she wants to make sure she has contact. Now, one of her thoughts may be that she would want to
stay out of the traffic.
Yeah, stay out of the traffic, and then maybe just press the pace a little bit, because maybe one of her strategies is to get Edith a little bit more tired. But so she's moving toward the front, and she's of course taking her teammate with her, Lisa Graham, and that's not a bad double right there.
But Karen Glarum staying right with her at this moment with 2 laps to go.
This race could turn into a tactical race rather than a speed race, because they're all so darn close in time. You know, Karen Glarum, I mentioned earlier, has run 4:18. She did that at the Dogwood Relays a few weeks ago. And Lisa Graham ran 4:19 in a Nebraska Twilight meet. But Fran Ten Bensel is certainly out there with a 4:16. She did that in a triangular meet with Washington State. But Edith Najienji is the woman to worry about in this field.
Just as it appeared Najienji was moving up some, she was cut off just a little bit by Fran Ten Bensel and decided to drop back a couple of strides. But she's trying to stay on the inside for the time being, and now starting to make a move to the outside.
Well, keep in mind, they're about 3 minutes into this race right now. They have less than a minute and a half left to go. And I think what's on Karen Glarum's mind right now is that she knows that Edith Najienji can kick her down, and so she'll have to try and press the pace. And see, what they've done is effectively now you've got your 4 speedsters in the front. They got the bell lap, and now they got to worry about how are they going to get Edith Najienji off their back. And I don't know that they can do that.
Lisa Graham from Nebraska holding the lead at this moment with Karen Glarum on the outside, and Najienji now moving on the outside. Fran Ten Bensel doesn't seem to have it today. She's trying to stay with that pack.
Well, she's pretty tired, but, you know, from the other competitions. But what she's satisfied, she's going to pick up some valuable points. But don't discount Karen Glarum. She has made a decision that she's not going to let this thing just go away. And that means that Edith Najienji now has to put the hammer down. If she doesn't put the hammer down, she can lose this race.
Hanging in there.
Now they come off the final turn. This is where it's critical. Who's got the best leg speed? Who can stay relaxed? And it appears that Edith Najienji is Karen Glarum.
Finishing first with Lisa Graham. And there's a look at Najienji's final time of 4:19.60. Lisa Graham finishing second, 4:20.28, and Karen Glirum from Iowa State, 4:22.29. So a nice run by Edith.
Up a few more needed points for Nebraska.
Let's take a look at the women's overall standings at this point. Nebraska 58 points, moving into the lead now, but Oklahoma very impressive at this point at 55 points. Kansas State at 37, Missouri in fourth. Nebraska does not have a runner in this event.
Well, you know, it's interesting with
6-6. Tom House pitching absolutes.
100-meter run, and this is an event where Iowa State should score very well. They have 3 men in the finals. Nebraska does not have a runner in this event.
Well, you know, it's interesting with as you look at the field, it's kind of strange not to see a Nebraska athlete, because this race was won by a Nebraska athlete the last 2 years. And you know, in lane 3 is John Nuttall, and there you see him wearing number 1025. He's got to come into this thing with some confidence, but off his shoulder on the left, you're going to see John Brown, and John Brown wearing number 1004. That guy is the guy that comes in with the fastest time, 3:41 to Nuttall's 3:45. But either one of them could pick up major league points in this event.
Nuttall is the 1991 indoor champion in the Big 8 and finished second last year in the outdoor with a time of 3:50.91 in last year's outdoor championships in Oklahoma.
He represented Great Britain in the World Cross Country Championships. Did not fare well in there, but he's getting a lot of experience. He's a senior. He's out of Preston, England, in Lancashire, and he has got a great future and perhaps will be a candidate for Britain.
And here is a look at the records. The collegiate mark of 3:31.71. The Big 8 record nearly 10 seconds behind that. And that was a set right here at Ed Weir Stadium. And the NCAA qualifying standard of 3:41.50. And Kansas State with Jason yepping into the lead for the moment. The Wildcat tandem. And right on their heels is...
from Kansas State has run 3:50 this year. That's an excellent time. But the only way he can ever hope to take it early, because Nuttall will sit back and just run on whoever's there, that will put the hammer down on some of the other people in the field. And you can see that Brown is just kind of hanging back a little. Iowa State masses their forces, and then they move to the front.
Nuttall running third. Jonathan Brown moving into the 4th spot, and John Burris for Iowa State is back in the number 7 position.
I don't want to take any credit away from John Burris, but, you know, it's interesting. They've got 3 guys in this race, and they could pick up some very work very carefully together watching those Kansas State athletes. They can't afford to lose any points to Kansas State. That wouldn't be smart. But the fact is that Phil Byrne is a solid athlete, and Jason Gortson is certainly not a slouch either. So either one of those athletes could gather some needed points for Kansas State.
Jonathan Brown has moved up into the number 2 spot now. Nuttall is now moving into 3rd. So Iowa State starting to make a little bit of a tandem move right now.
Well, they generally, you know, work as team players. You know, certainly that is been the tradition of the English athletes. John Nuttall would tell you that the team concept in Great Britain is very strong, but they've done it now. And the only recourse that these athletes have is to go with them now, because if they don't go with them now in the bell lap, they're never going to catch them. They went through the to the final lap. It'll be right about 3:49 or 3:50 if they continue forward at this pace.
Brown and Nuttall running 1-2 right now. Donnie Anderson from Kansas is in the 3rd spot at the moment. And Anderson is right on the heels of John Nuttall as they have about 200 yards to go now.
All right, this is where you're going to see some pressure, because they don't want those Kansas guys to pass them. They certainly have their pride at stake as well. They've never been, either one of the guys has ever been beaten by these guys, but those guys are running the races of their lives. They're certainly going to pick up some valuable points.
And that's Michael Cox from Kansas moving up into the 3rd
Look at him.
spot.
He's going to try and get them, but they can't. These guys have too much of a kick. They're looking back. They know what they're doing. But they had to run a very hard last quarter, 3:45 unofficially.
And a 1-2 finish with Jonathan Brown and John Nuttall going 1 and 2 for the Iowa. So Jonathan Brown and John Nuttall with a 1-2 finish. That certainly helps the Cyclones bid with that point total there.
That's right, and you've got Jonathan Brown from Sheffield, England, and you've got John Nuttall from Preston, England, working as a team within a team, and they did a fine job of it. They came up with some much-needed points, and you look at the guys from KU, they didn't do badly either.
Michael Cox, just a freshman. He's got a great future ahead of him. Let's take a look at the team scoring to date. Iowa State with a 20-point bulge over Kansas State. Nebraska just 1 point back. Kansas in fourth, and in due part a great deal to the finish there in the 1500. We'll be back with more of the 1991 Big 8 Outdoor Track and Field Championships on Prime Network. For the women's 100-meter hurdles, they have switched the sprints to the opposite direction because of the wind. They want the wind at their back. For the ladies, it'll be Amy Hadley of Kansas in lane 1. Verita Walter from Kansas State in lane 2. Thelma Franks of Oklahoma in 3. Yolanda Johnson of Colorado in 5. Kwani Stewart of Nebraska in 6. Felicia Allen of Missouri in 7. Doris Williams of Oklahoma State. Pardon me. I think I just switched there. Kwani Stewart in 5. Felicia Allen in 6. Doris Williams of Iowa State in lane 8. Now that I've sufficiently confused everyone, let's go down to Drew for just a moment.
Because they wanted the wind at the back of the athletes. It's still a legal wind, but obviously they didn't want them running in. Also, Mark Nuttall, he seemed to pull up a little bit at the end. He has a sore hamstring. He wants to qualify nationally in the 5K a little bit later on. That's why he didn't go all out in the final sprint of the 1,500 meters. Back upstairs.
Thanks for the information, Drew. And now a look at Yolanda Johnson, University of Colorado, and she is the favorite in this event, Cree.
Yolanda Johnson is a great talent. It's one of the pride of the University of Colorado from Boulder, Colorado, and she comes into this event with a 13.46. She's in lane 4. She's going to be challenged by Felicia Allen of University of Missouri in lane 6, who comes into this with a 13.55. So I think if we want to keep our eyes on sort of the center part of the track, we'll be wise, because they'll all be shooting at Yolanda Johnson.
Keep an eye also on Kwani Stewart of Nebraska in between the two of them in lane 5. Allen will be in lane 6, so just keep your eyes on those 3 spots. And we say the winner should come from there, but we learned something from the Iowa State victory on the 4x100 meter relay for the men. The upsets do happen.
And lots of surprises. Now, Yolanda Johnson is defending champion here. She won this last year down in Norman, Oklahoma at the Big 8 in 13.5, and so she is certainly defending her title, which is an important consideration, particularly since she is a senior, and this is the final opportunity for her to defend this particular title.
She was also the champion indoors at 55 meters in the hurdles. And as you watch her, she has a different strategy for getting herself set compared to everybody else out there. She likes to stay in front of those blocks.
Yes, she does. And she's a smart athlete. She's crafty, and she is a craftsperson when it comes to this event.
And there's always a little bit of psych job going out there. So if you do something a little bit different, everybody's kind of watching you.
That's exactly right.
Great start for Johnson. She comes out with a half-yard lead, and she's expanding on it. But coming up in lane 6, Felicia Allen cleanly with the victory, though, in 13.54 unofficially.
Approximately the same time she won it in last year. She's got to be very happy. She's probably a little disappointed with the time, but nevertheless, she got the victory. And she's got other work to do today, too. So
a great start out of the blocks, though, for Yolanda Johnson. And here's a look. She came out, and you can see it right there. She already has a full stride on Felicia Allen. Kwani Stewart, just to Johnson's left, got off to an even slower start, but Stewart closed quickly at the end.
Well, I'll tell you what, as you watch her go over there, the assistant coach in charge of hurdles at University of Colorado, Mike Gilbert, and of course the head coach, Jerry Quiller, who everybody knows as Q, really work with these hurdlers to make sure that they get their technique down, and it certainly is demonstrated here for this many-time All-American Yolanda Johnson.
And Drew has Yolanda Johnson standing by on the track. Drew.
Okay, Duke, thanks very much. Do you feel like you're on target for the Nationals?
Not all the way. I've been practicing, trying to get back in shape for my sickness, but it's coming. I should be right on target when Nationals come.
Where do you want to work on specifically?
Everything. Speed, mostly. My block start wasn't as good as it usually is. Just basically hurdles, but a little bit of everything.
I'll let you catch your breath. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Yolanda Johnson, the winner of the 100-meter hurdles.
And the winning time for Yolanda Johnson, 13.47, an outstanding mark on the 100-meter hurdles. Kawani Stewart of Nebraska finishes second at 13.62. Thelma Franks of Oklahoma in third at 13.64, just 0.02 of a second back, followed by Felicia Allen, Doris Williams, and Verita Walter. And we'll be back with more of the Big 8 Outdoor Track and Field Championships when we come up on Prime Network. 10-meter high hurdles for the men at the Ed Weir Stadium on the campus of the University of Nebraska. There's a look at our contestants and the lane assignments for the University of Nebraska freshman Mike Bailey will be in lane 2. Robert Carmona of Colorado will be in lane 3. Willie Clark, the favorite from Iowa State. This is one of those rare points can really make a difference right here. Willie Clark of Iowa State in lane 4. Stephen Golding in lane 5 from Nebraska. Charles Armstead from Kansas State in lane 6. Fred Gardner from Nebraska in lane 7. And Jerome Millett from Kansas State is in lane 8. And you're looking at Willie Clark and Stephen Golding. Clark comes in with a best time of 13.87. Golding's best is 13.90.
And Clark is, of course, a senior, and they're underway.
And a clean start, but a great start for
Golding.
Stephen Golding.
Oh, is he drilling it?
Golding is running smoothly along.
Oh, no, and oh, look what happened to
Willie Clark. Willie Clark on about the 4th hurdle made contact and never seemed to regain his balance.
Oh, my gosh. Well, he ran that hurdle head on. It was quite amazing that he was able to just to recover the way he did. He's got to be incredibly disappointed.
So Stephen Golding for Nebraska comes up with the victory. And he, although it didn't look like he got a great start, and after his first couple of strides, he would suddenly, look at him.
I just blew it out. Now watch.
Well, Clark, in fact, made contact
Clark
with the first
right there.
2 hurdles.
So he was already on the downside. He did okay on that. No, he's hitting every
There's the one that got him going.
Nailed it. 4th to last hurdle, he just dusted. 5th to last hurdle, I guess it was. And then the next one is really bad. Oh.
And it appears Kansas State's Charles Armstead picks up 2nd place with the lunge at the finish line. And Stephen Golding with a time of 13.98 picks up the victory. Charles Armstead does finish 2nd. Roberto Carmona of Colorado is 3rd. And a great finish for Stephen Golding, but Willie Clark finishes a very disappointing 8th after making contact. He was really knocked off when he hit that first hurdle.
Really should have been a 2-man duel between Willie Clark and Stephen Golding, and it turned out not to be one. I'm sure Willie Clark incredibly disappointed by what happened out there. Once you hit some of those hurdles, it's a never-ending struggle to try to get to the finish line. It's almost impossible, as opposed to the 400-meter hurdles. You can't really correct. I mean, your timing's off, your synchronization is off, and the fact is Stephen Golding's floating right through it. There's nothing you can do but turn back.
And the points, and we'll be back with more of the Big 8 1991 Big 8 Outdoor Track and Field Championships. And we're just about set for the start of the women's 400-meter dash. Let's set the lane assignments for you. In lane 1, it's Sherlanda Brooks from Kansas, Kathleen Hancock from Iowa State. Lane 3, Chanel Porter with the fastest qualifying time from Nebraska in lane 4. Jimena Restrepo of Nebraska in lane 5, and she is really the class runner of this event. Nicole Green from Kansas State in lane 6. Cindy Stallworth from Iowa State in lane 7. And Katrina Lawrence from Kansas is in lane 8. And a look at the national records and the Big 8 records. 49.91 rather, the collegiate mark. The Big 8 mark of 51.05. The starter giving them their time to get settled in to the blocks.
Gun is up. It was a clean start.
And Restrepo already making up ground on Nikki Green from Kansas State.
If she's making up on Nikki Green, she's making up on the entire field. Now, Nikki Green is still doing okay, but I tell you what, look at
Chanel
Katrina
Porter.
And Katrina Lawrence is starting to lose some ground, but Chanel Porter is coming up.
Chanel Porter has really made up some ground on the backstretch, and now you see Restrepo trying to kick it in. She sees Porter on the inside, and look at her turn on the jets.
All right, as they come off the turn, Chanel Porter off her left shoulder is slightly behind the shoulder of Jimena Restrepo. And Restrepo now is using her form to her advantage, and she's pulling away from her, but just great race by Chanel Porter and Jimena Restrepo. Restrepo unofficially in a really fast time. I got under 51 seconds. Now that can't